Well done there to Robbie D'Orazio, getting the deal done for Charlie Curnow to head to Sydney. David King, does this put the Swans back in the flag frame?
I think they've got more problems behind the ball than in front of it, but it's a wild card talent that he's going to kick more goals than what's there at the moment, let's be honest. I mean, McLean last year was their biggest return in terms of the big bodies down there. He kicked 25. We didn't see McDonald. We only saw Amati for 8 games. This guy doesn't miss much footy. He's going to be a wild card that could kick 50-plus and put them on the map. Joe, you think this brings them into premiership contention?
Stuff the glass half empty. What about the theatre? Lockett, Hall, Buddy, Tippett and now Curnow.
It continues, doesn't it?
At 29 years of age, Lockett went up there. He played 98 games. He kicked 462 goals. Charlie's not going to kick 460, but even if he kicks 250 across the next 5 seasons, maybe they hoist the flag that Buddy Franklin was never able to achieve in his second incarnation at Sydney.
Yeah, the flow-on effect. Amati becomes the second tall, which suits him better. McLean becomes the second tall option. And
Isaac Heaney gets
that's exactly right. That's still star-studded. You're right behind the ball. That's why I wonder now with Curnow, and everyone's talking about the 4 talls with Logan McDonald in there as well, whether they now try Logan McDonald at centre-half back, because they do need someone else behind the ball to support McCartan and Blakey. Logan McDonald, it hasn't quite worked as a forward. With Amati to play the second forward option, which I think suits better in McLean, I think they should try Logan McDonald. And if he can become a player like we've seen a lot of other failed forwards that go behind the ball and do a really, really good job, then that could be the difference for the Sydney Swans to be able to compete for a flag.
Gee, it takes the pressure off Heaney, doesn't it? I mean, he was a leading goal kicker again last year with 37. He doesn't have to do as much forward 50 work as what he's probably done the last couple of... I mean, he was pretty much a midfielder exclusively this year. I think 90% of ground time or something like that. So it does lessen his load.
Yeah, and I just wonder, Ralphie, how big their window is, the Sydney Swans, because a lot of talk about Chad Warner in 2 years will head back to Perth. Brody Grundy's going to be 32 next year. Heaney turns 30 next year. So I think it's the right time, the sweet spot for the Sydney Swans to have a crack at that flag that they've been chasing.
Strike now. All right, we're going to have a look at the Bombers and the overall picture of how they've fared in this trade period. They said they were not going to let Zach Merrett go, and they've held true to that as we have a look at what they have done over the time Draper headed to the Brisbane Lions, a couple of delistings there, and well, Joey, it's going to be painful the next few months for Zach Merrett.
There's still an intrigue because we need to see them fit and healthy and what it can actually look like if Brad Scott has the full list available to choose from. They just haven't had that in recent years. There's too many players on that list that get injured too often to give them a chance. You know, they're going to get 2 really good players early in the draft. Then they've got some academy prospects, potentially after that might work in their favour. And, yeah, we've just got to see them with their best list and what they can do. But it's going to be tough for them.
Got to nail those draft picks, though, because they have had some top draft picks over the last few years and they perhaps haven't progressed as they'd like. Ralphie?
Couldn't agree with you more on the drafting strategy, but they have nailed the last couple there in Isaac Kako and obviously Nate Caddy. This could have been footy's greatest train wreck. They could have lost 4 or 5 of their senior players, including their captain, including Ridley, including Parrish, including Langford. They have lost their president. They could have had a coup over the next couple of months. And instead, right now, yes, there'll be some challenges, but they've got 12 months to reset. They've got an elite fitness and strength and conditioning program in. I think so much of the next 6 months is what have you got for us, Brad Scott? What have you got to us to make other players into the Archie Robertses of the 2026 season? So can you do it for Jai Caldwell? Where is Perkins at? Where is so many of these young players at? Where's Ben Mackay? Where's Sardis at? They've still got decisions ahead on Setterfield and Hobbs and Lawal. Haven't made decisions on them. But there are so many players there who come into this team and look like they have some talent, and they either stagnate or they regress. So what do you got for us, Brad, when you pitch that huge vision to us? We get to see whether Brad's the coach that we think he is after 280 AFL games at the helm of football clubs.
All right, let's look at Hawthorn now. Kingy, you've been quite strong on their inability to satisfy the Bombers and get the deal done. They've left a lot of carnage, haven't they, both with Oscar Allen and now Zach Merrett. And I suppose Sam Mitchell now can kind of sit back and, well, it's not his problem. I mean, Zach has to go back to the Bombers. He won't be captain or in the leadership group, you would think, but that's not his problem. He does need to find a way to boost his own midfield, but, well, we'll wait and see. They had a great season.
He's entitled to be furious, I think, Zach Merrett. no doubt the Hawthorn would have said, we'll get this deal done. We've got enough bigs, we've got enough talent on our list that we'll be able to satisfy the Bombers. They haven't done that. And I think it puts a real dint in their premiership aspirations for next year. We know Will Day's missed a lot of footy, 16 games in 2024, 6 games in 2025. So he will return. Now, can he stay on the park is his challenge. Merrett into that lineup changes the whole mix for me, changes the whole dynamic of what they do ball in hand. So I think it's a real blow for the Hawks tonight. I really do. I think that when you look at every team across the competition at the top, pretty much that top bracket of teams, the top 6 to 8, are looking for that one player, that one extra asset that tips them over the edge into premiership contention. And I think the Hawks have left one on the table tonight.
And that's probably the point for me. Everyone else around them, when you talk about the contenders, have improved their list going into next season, except for Hawthorn. In fact, they've lost a bit of depth there. And it's probably, I suppose, what happens, Ralphie, when you try and go for the big fish. Now, good on them. They went for Harley Reid. They had a crack at Oscar Allen. They've gone for Zach Merrett. So they are going for the big fish. But if it doesn't come off, then it's left them. And now maybe they're probably going to put all their eggs into the Zach Butters basket for next year.
Knowing, of course, that the Western Bulldogs and Geelong are probably a long way in front just because of the geography of it, the fact that he's keen to be in the western suburbs. I think what Zach Merrett will be thinking to himself is, I look at what happened with Charlie Curnow. He wanted to go to a successful club. He chose 3 options. Get me to any of the Gold Coast, or Geelong or Sydney. So the challenge there is that Sam Mitchell's the greatest salesman of all time. So once that you get lured in his charms, all I want to do is play for Hawthorn. In the end, the fact that they couldn't bring up a quality player meant it was challenging, whereas in the end, I think maybe it was even the third of Charlie's preferences, but he got to a club which could bring players in, and of course they were from his management stable. That's been the downfall of the Merrett trade.
Does it hurt Hawthorn's ability to sell to the next batch of players coming out that they couldn't get this done?
I think so. Absolutely.
I think they will say in the end, we gave 4 first-rounders. Now, if Essendon doesn't want to accept 4 first-rounders, what could we do? Now, you and I would say that you try to throw a quality player in. I just think it's a Josh Ward or a McKenzie. They can win a premiership next year without either of those 2 players. But can they win it with Merrett? I think your answer has been maybe no.
Well, not without Merrett. I just think it puts too much responsibility on the premium 2 in Newcombe and Day. You need 3. You need the next one. And that's why this period is fascinating, because clubs have been working on this for 18 months, Joey. This is not a 1 month, 2 month campaign. This has been deep-seated on the whiteboard in these headquarters at Clubland for so long. To fall over this lad, I think, is really disappointing for Zach Merrett and for the Hawks.
So Cam McKenzie, I think, played 12 games. He's not a leg driver. He's a low metres gain player. There's times where he spins around and he looks a bit like Sam Mitchell, but, he has had a good career but not a great one. Josh Ward had 31 possessions, 5 clearances, 7 score involvements in that Adelaide final. He looked fantastic. Yep. So now it's up to Sam Mitchell to bring those players in, as well as Henry Hutswaite, who's an elite clearance player but hasn't had a great tank. OK, again, what's your coaching like to be able to develop one of those players into not a Zach Merrett, into a really strong role player next year, with Will Day still, let's face it, coming in reasonably slowly from a navicular issue.
And do they find another mid? Does Nick Watson get more opportunity next season? Does Weddle go and play some midfield minutes? So Sam Mitchell will come up with something, but no doubt a blow for the Hawks tonight.
Can't wait for the fixture to be released and to see where this one falls. The Bombers and Hawthorn round 1.